What's going on, everyone? You are listening to the Antonio Chauran Sports Podcast. I am your host, Antonio Chauran. And if you watched my video yesterday that I posted on Wednesday, this is kind of a two-parter to the video from yesterday because I had mentioned how I'm going to be talking about my picks for this week 9 of the NFL season. And obviously, this is going to be coming out right before the game tonight between the Titans and Steelers. So I'm just going to go over my picks. That's really all of this video is going to be dedicated to. So let's get started. First off, we have the Titans at Steelers. I'm going to pick the Titans here. They looked a lot better with Will Levis quarterbacking this team in comparison to Ryan Tannehill, which I think this is his last season as a Titan, personally. And the Steelers, again, they are just still lacking, from an offensive production standpoint. I know Kenny Pickett got hurt. I don't know if he's going to be playing tonight. Surprisingly, though, this is in the Steelers' favor. They are 58.3% match predictor favorites. I think Kenny Pickett will play tonight. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. Again, their defense is really good. You're starting to see, though, this Titan offense start to pick up a little bit. I think it'll be a close game, but I'm going to pick the Titans here. I'm going to pick them 23-17. Chiefs, Dolphins in Germany. I had said this on my show yesterday, so I'm really not going to talk really about this. I picked the Chiefs to win 27-23. Go back to my last video to watch it if you haven't already. I think it's a pretty good video. Seahawks at Ravens. I'm going to pick the Ravens here. Ravens are looking good. Again, with the Seahawks, they had a good win against the Browns last Sunday. But again, I think the Ravens are overall a better team. Two good defenses going up against each other. But I still think that the Ravens have the better overall team. They're starting to come into form now, 6-2. Seahawks 5-2. Both teams only have 2 losses. But I still think the Ravens will take this one. I'm going to pick them 28-24. Cardinals at Browns. I don't think this is going to be a really close game. I'm going to pick the Browns here. They're the better team at 4-3 in comparison to the one win Arizona Cardinals. Obviously, that one win coming against the Dallas Cowboys. But if you're a Cowboys fan, you're like, we don't need to talk about that. The Browns have the better team here. They have the better defense. They're going to be able to clog up this offense, I have no doubt, except for Hollywood Brown, because he is on my fantasy, and I hope he gets his points. He's been pretty solid for me so far this season. But yeah, I'm going to pick the Browns here, 27-18. Bucks at Texans. This is an interesting game. You have this Texans team that have won some pretty good games, but they have also fumbled the bag a few times. Both teams at 3-4. I'm going to pick the Texans here. I think they have the better team. I think they have the most promise, obviously, given how young that their team is, and their main stud in CJ Stroud, who has had a great rookie season so far. Very promising if you're a Texans fan. And, from the Bucks perspective, I mean, they have a few weapons here and there, and Baker Mayfield's having, a pretty decent season to his standards, but I still think the Texans are the better team here, and I'm going to pick them to win this game 27-21. Bears at Saints. Da Bears. I love saying that. I'm going to pick the Saints here. Saints have a better team. Bears are 2-6. They haven't, shown much promise so far this season. They got Montez Sweat from the Commanders this just past trade deadline. And, they're going to start trying to rebuild that defensive side of the ball. Obviously, with Eberflus, a defensive-minded coach, he's going to want to draw more attention to that side of the ball. But, we'll see if he sticks around to see it really, materialize. But, yeah, I'm going to pick the Saints here. They have the better overall team. Obviously, contenders for that NFC South division crown there, but not really more than that. But I'm going to pick the Saints here, 31-27. Vikings at Falcons. If Kirk Cousins was still there, I'd probably pick the Vikings, but I'm going to pick the Falcons here. They just made a change to benching Desmond Ridder for Taylor Heineke. Uh, Again, this is a guy in Heineke where I sound like Chris Collinsworth. Now here's a guy. When Heineke was with the Commanders, he was a guy that I felt should have kept that starting job. He took it from Carson Wentz, and he had flashes where you were like, "Damn, this kid can play." Um, Surprising, I guess, to me that they let him go in the off season because I mean, look, and he even said it himself. I believe that this was on Radio Row during the Super Bowl in Arizona. He was on the Pat McAfee show, and he talked to them about Sam Howell and how he's like, this is a guy that should be starting. And credit to Taylor Heineke for saying that, but at the same time, like, dude, you're a quarterback in this league too, and if you want a starting job, you got to be an advocate for yourself. But that says a lot about him as a person. But I think that having him running this offense is going to be good. And so I'm going to pick the Falcons here. I was going to say the Vikings. If Kirk Cousins was there, sucks that he's out for the rest of the season due to an Achilles injury. But I'm going to pick the Falcons here to win this game 28-24. Rams at Packers. I'm going to pick the Rams here. Again, two not great teams. Rams at 3-5, Packers at 2-5. The Packers just have not been good so far this season. And yeah, it's really as simple as that. I feel like the Rams have better pieces, even though that they're in a rebuilding mode. They're still in games, even though they're losing, a majority of their games. They're still in them, and they've won a few games. You're like, oh wow, okay. Even though they just got waxed by the Cowboys. Still going to pick the Rams here, 27-20. Commanders at Patriots. Go Commies. I'm going with the Commanders here. Again, they had a really good fight against the Eagles. They always do, right? It seems like for the past few seasons, that's always been a game that's been really competitive, no matter how middle of the pack the Commanders are and how elite the Eagles have been over the past few seasons. And again, with this Patriots team, they're just not good. I just don't. And I think that Sam Howell so far this season has had a pretty good season, like I've said, to his standards. So I'm going to pick the Commanders here to win this game. I'm going to give them 28 points. I think they'll be able to score on this Belichick defense. And I think it'll be somewhat of a close game, but I'm still going to pick the Commanders here, 28-23. Colts at Panthers. We're getting into our late afternoon games here. Colts at Panthers. I'm going to pick the Colts here. Panthers finally got their first win against the Texans. Bryce Young got his first NFL dub. So, good for you, man. Congratulations. But I still think the Colts are the better team here. Again, there have been so many games where the Colts just shoot themselves in the foot. Gardner Minshew, obviously, you're running the ship. You know what you're getting from Gardner. You're going to have some spurts here and there, but he's always good for a turnover. But I'm still going to pick the Colts here to win this game. I think they can definitely put up some points against this Panthers team. I'm going to have them winning this game 31-24. Giants at Raiders. Let me not be biased here just because I'm a Raider hater. But I'm going to pick the Giants here. I'm going with the boys in blue. I just think the Raiders, good for them. They got rid of Mike McDaniels. It was time. They also got rid of their offensive coordinator, Mike Lombardi. So this is going to be a mid-season transition for this team. I think some of the bad juju is out, given the fact that everyone was calling for Mike McDaniel's job, and the offense was just not offensing. But yes, I still think, though, this is still a team that's trying to figure out what the hell they got to do. You have weapons, and they're not able to use them. You got a guy in Devontae Adams. You got Hunter Renfrow. You got, Jacobs in the backfield. Let's figure out what the hell we need to do here. You got Jacoby Myers, too, who's been also good for me in fantasy. Very sneaky, solid pickup there. But yeah, I'm going to pick the Giants here. Saquon's going to be able to run all over this defense, I have no doubt. Picking the boys in blue, 28-21. Cowboys at Eagles. This, aside from, let's say there's like three really good games. Obviously, the Dolphins and the Chiefs, Cowboys and Eagles, Bills and Bengals. Who would have thunk? Huh? I still think though this Cowboys Eagles game. I mean, it's going to be very telling with how these teams are going to be handling the rest of the season because the Cowboys have been able to beat up on really bad teams, and whenever it comes to teams that are competitive, i.e., the San Francisco 49ers getting freaking destroyed on national television. It'll be interesting to see how this Cowboys team plays this Eagles team. I'm going to pick the Eagles here. Yeah, I mean, look, it's going to be a tough game. I think both defense are going to be able to show out. But again, both offenses are also very potent. And it's going to be, it's going to be a dogfight. I think it will be a close game. It'll come down definitely to the last few plays of this game. But I'm going to pick the Eagles here to eke this one out 27-26. Yeah, I think it's going to be a one possession game. Eagles go down, drive the ball, get a field goal, win. A couple tush pushes along the way too. Bears at Bengals, Sunday Night Football. I'm going to pick the Bengals here. The Bills have been suspect so far this season. Their really only big commanding win was against the Commanders when they won like 38-3. And obviously, look, and we can't dismiss that game against Miami where they beat them like 48-20 or something like that. There's something to be said about that, but they've had some really, really bad losses too. And near loss to the Giants as well. They honestly should have lost that game. And the Bengals are getting on a roll here. You know, the first few weeks of the season, Joe Burrow was injured. He was fighting that calf injury. But, you know, he's back, Joe Shiesty. And I think the Bengals are going to win this one here. It's going to be the first game that DeMar Hamlin plays back in Cincinnati where he suffered that cardiac arrest. So that's definitely going to be an emotional game for him too. But, you know, that aside, I just wanted to point that out. I still think the Bengals are going to win this game. I think it'll be more of a high-scoring game for sure because both defense are kind of they're middle of the pack, both for sure. So I'm going to pick the Bengals to win here 33-30. Last game, Monday Night Football. I forget the guy's name, but he's Spanish radio for the NFL. Hits that Spanish clientele. Chargers at Jets. I'm picking the Jets. Jets, Jets. Not because I'm rooting against the Chargers, but because I think the Jets are somewhat hitting a stride here. You are seeing, and you got to give Zach Wilson credit. He is growing and maturing before our eyes. He really is. You know, and this is a team too that knows, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but Aaron Rodgers is going to be returning this season, it looks like. And the fact that that's the case, I feel like that has lit a fire under this team, knowing that Aaron Rodgers will be back eventually this season. And they're like, when he comes back, we need to be in a playoff position because what's the point of him coming back if we're not going to be able to compete this season? So I think the fact that they know that, or they are very confident that he will be coming back to play, I think there's definitely something to be said about that. And so I'm going to pick the Jets here. I don't think it'll be a very high scoring game, but I'm going to pick the Jets to eke this one out here. I'm going to pick them to win 24-21. So yeah, those are my picks, everyone, for week 9 of the NFL season. And yeah, I will be back next week. Hopefully I won't be depressed if the Chiefs lose, but I feel pretty good about, my pick, and I feel pretty good about them giving it to Miami in Germany. So anyways, thank you all for listening. I appreciate you all for tuning in, and I will be back next time. Peace.